a Thursday evening right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform and live streaming thing. I don't know what that's called. I am Pugs Moran, and he is James Parker. Hiya, James.
Hey there, Pugs Moran. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm Laugh Sergeant Tickles tonight.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I don't know. What does Throb Stewart mean? Okay, what does it mean? I don't know. I saw someone who was identifying themselves as a staff sergeant, and I thought, oh, why not? I could be the Laugh Sergeant Tickles. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know where he is. What is Throb Stewart? Explain that to me.
It's like Rob Stewart, but if you put a TH in front of it, all of a sudden it sounds like I have a project.
They get that. So, James, as we await the arrival of E, he could be at any minute. Did I not send him? Wait, let me make sure that I sent him a link.
You know, you could just add him to the team on Restream, and he doesn't need a link. He can go down and enter the studio his damn self.
Yeah. I could. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I sent it to him. He's not there. Anyway, our fine partner, our platform partner here, the people who do all the technical whatever, Radio Misfits, and of course, Ed, I like to say if there's a podcast that you want to hear, you can go to radiomisfits.com. But honestly, James, I think that you and me and any other creator out there who's thinking that they've got the idea for the next great podcast, we just need to break camp. We just need to fold them up, get in our cars, go home, apologize to our wives and children, say we made a big mistake. Because, James, there's a podcast. I shat you not. James, have you ever heard of the podcast that is just breaking the internet right now? Now, you're familiar with true crime, right? Did you ever listen to any true crime podcasts?
No, my wife loves it. My wife loves it a little too much, even. If she ever needs to murder me, I think she already has it all down. She's ready to go.
Yeah, women love the true crime. That's definitely certainly smack dab in that demo. I also find myself enjoying the true crime podcast. It is one of the cornerstones of podcasting at this point.
Not you, Pugs.
No, I do. I like them. I especially like them. If I'm being honest, I especially like them in the Netflix Hulu form. I like to watch them.
I don't mind sitting through them, but I do not actively seek them out. I'm not into forensics like the rest of America.
I'm really not either, and that's funny because that's where my mother worked for 20 years with the Illinois State Police. So you would think maybe I'd have some curiosity about it, but I just don't.
Right.
But James, entering the top of the charts right now in the true crime podcast genre is a podcast out of New Zealand by a Kiwi lady. James, it is true crime, and I crap you not on the title of this true crime. Here's what it's called. Who Shat on the Floor at My Wedding? A true crime podcast about a real event that happened at this woman's wedding in 2018. And apparently everybody has been trying to figure out who took a steamer on the floor at this lady's wedding. Now that, just retire all the ideas because I'm actually interested in that. Here's why I'm interested. If I were to learn it was satire or a parody, I wouldn't be as interested. But the fact that somebody really took a shit on the floor at her wedding and she's dying to find out and she's interviewing guests and all that, I think that's interesting. James, what say you?
It is interesting, but it does have a shelf life. That's the downside. Once we figure out who dropped the deuce, what's in season 2? Nothing. And that doesn't make it bad. That just means it's not something that's going to last you 10 years. So
this becomes a huge hit. I wonder if anybody will be interested in the next thing she does. The floor, it's just about breaking through. This podcast creator is breaking through in the world of podcasting.
So is it over? Does it have a finite ending that you're aware of? Is this a limited series or is it open-ended?
Here's what I know. Winner of Best Podcast Award just recently at the International Podcasters Award Conference. Best Podcast, Who Shat on the Floor at My Wedding? A true crime podcast by a Kiwi woman trying to track down who shat on the actual floor at her actual wedding on a boat. So it's a true locked room mystery with limited suspects. So this happened on a boat.
Well, that is awesome because we have no possibility that some homeless guy just came in or
No,
some party crasher. There is a manifest, or
there's a fixed number of suspects.
is that what it's called on a boat, or is that just what's called on an airplane? We have the list of crew and passengers.
Manifest. I think that
And this
sounds
is
right.
like a fecal whodunit or game of Clue, because the answer is going to sound like Clue. You know, it was Professor Plum, you know, with the malt liquor in the library.
Right. Well, that makes it even more fun because
Right.
we're probably we're pin this on somebody at some point. Let's see all the places you can listen to it. Here's what it says. It says, oh, they're lesbians. So there you go. Maybe that even makes it more interesting, more of an avant-garde crowd, possibly. I don't know. It says here, it was a perfect day until someone shat on the floor. Karen Whitehouse and Helen McLaughlin got married on Saturday, the 11th of August, year 2018. The mystery of the crime has been tormenting them ever since. They have to know who, out of their closest friends, family, or staff, were audacious enough to loosen their bowels on the floor on their special day. Join the brides, Helen McLaughlin and Karen Whitehouse, and the extremely underqualified detective, Laura Kilby, as they interrogate wedding guests, hook bridesmaids up to polygraph machines, and speak with top forensic experts in an attempt to crack the case. Who shat on the floor at my wedding? I'm sorry, but that tickles me. If I was a billionaire, I'd be like, how much money do you want to keep that going? That is great.
Yeah, you'll single-handedly keep it going.
I will.
I just need to know how it is. But
I'm afraid to start listening because I'm afraid I'm going to really get way too involved in who could have possibly shat on the floor.
well, also the question comes up, like, have you seen the end of this? Does she know? Did she know before she started this podcast, or is this podcast about her doing the process of finding out?
I don't know. I'm not that far in. I believe that here's how from the publicity that I've been exposed to, it appears that this just organically came about after years of these people going, hey, we ever find out who took that crap on the floor? You know, I think that's how it came about. That's how I'm choosing with the limited information that I have to believe. But I don't know. You're right. Maybe it was like, oh, this would be retroactively a funny story. I don't believe that's the case.
Well, it means something different if she actually knows who did it and she's telling the story about how she found out who did it.
I think it's an investigation. Polygraphs have been utilized. You know, I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. You got anything? Because I got a big show today. I just got stuff we can lean on all day.
No, I've been doing too much lately. Go ahead.
All right. Well, here, first of all, I want to show this. I just can't with this stuff. This is this is not political. This is not. I'm not trying to be divisive. Did you see this Biden interview on MSNBC, James? Did you see this? It's making the rounds today.
Not at all.
I don't. Jesus, look, I'm not one of these people. Okay, just so we know, every time I see him rub the back shoulders of a little girl, I don't assume he's a pedophile. You know what I assume? I assume that he's a warm, decent old guy. Yeah, it's the president of the United States or vice president, whatever his position of power. I don't immediately jump to he wants to that little girl. Okay, so I think that's kind of demented. Do I have legitimate concerns about, I don't know, Grandpa Biden? Yeah, I do. I didn't always. It's starting to become completely unavoidable though. He did another thing today that I'm just like, you got to throw your hands up and you got to say, what are we doing here? What is even his most ardent defenders? Look, I understand what's on the other side of this, right? The other side of the fence is, the orange monster. It's no picnic over there either. But let's stop pretending like nothing's wrong here. Okay. Hold on. We have to sit on a commercial. I apologize. Can you hear that commercial playing?
No, you don't have it. You don't have it shared out.
Right.
Oh, okay. No. I can't hear it when it's grayed out over there on the side like you have it. So you're skipping the ad.
I'm skipping the ad.
Yeah, I would rather have this awkward silence than force an ad upon these people. We will minimize the amount of ads. You will only see our ads, damn it.
Even if it is an ad for rockwalldodge.com. Okay, here we go. So this is just embarrassing. And I don't hate the guy. I like the guy. I think the guy's a nice guy. He seems like a nice old man, but this is just embarrassing.
It's not a profile on courage, but You know me, I'm an eternal optimist. I still think there's going to come a moment when they're going to be able to break. And by the way, remember when I said we could still do bipartisan things? They said they couldn't do it. Well, we didn't get a lot, but we got a lot of bipartisan things.
And now they're running on your bipartisan accomplishment. I think that's a sign.
Like I said, I'm going to be down there congratulating them. I said I'd be a president for every American, whether they voted for me or not.
Well, and the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President.
All right, this is on live TV on MSNBC, just to remind you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Nicole,
much.
I appreciate
it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
Where the hell are you going?
Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard from the president.
All right, well, James, getting up and just walking off set on live TV. Like, did he forget? Did he think it was a taped interview? Because, I can understand being the thing. He does a lot of sit-down taped interviews that are on time sensitive. You got 5 minutes with the president. He gets up, he walks away. What the fuck? What? Let's bring in E first before we turn James loose on this. E is here.
Hey. Sorry I'm late. I just had a lot of crap going on.
You got a lot going on. We all do. That was what you just missed. There was Biden's latest old man moment, which occurred on MSNBC today, where he appeared to not know the rules of a live TV interview. You don't get up at the end and just weirdly walk off stage in the background. It's a bit embarrassing. James, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Well, I don't think you're going to like my take on this because it's boring, and I'm sorry, but this doesn't bother me nearly as much as it bothers, I guess, everyone else in the country, because the thing that's important, whether or not he's sniffing kids or he just runs into walls like
That's not a real thing. I don't even want to dignify that, but I know what you're saying.
I know, but yeah, whatever the hyperbole is, that doesn't affect me because a guy who is in the second, third stages of dementia, but holds the same political values, the same policy positions as you do, should still be your preferred candidate over a guy who doesn't. And I always make the point like, I believe free market capitalism is the best way to arrange a society, and in statecraft, I would like my leaders who get elected to positions of power to generally follow that ethos. And a guy who has like an 88 IQ who's trying to implement free market capitalism is going to be better for a country than a guy with 140 IQ that says, let's do that communism thing that China and North Korea did and the Soviet Union. So the policies are what matter. It doesn't matter if he's kind of demented. It doesn't matter if he's a creep or if he makes awkward comments about his own daughter, which applies to both Biden and Trump. Thank you very much. It doesn't matter if they have some classified documents. Applies to both of them. Doesn't matter if they want to. What matters is, do they want to run up a big debt? Do they want to inflate your currency? Are they going to institute policies that hurt your economy or hurt your job prospects or, make it harder for your kid to go to college? These are the important things. And this doesn't bother me if he walks off. I give a rip.
I think you're absolutely mistaken in that. I think it matters certainly more than I think you're realizing. First of all, whether or not he's going to be able to implement your policies, and you don't care if he's got an 88 IQ, but if you can implement your policies, that's fine. He's an idiot. He ain't implementing policies. None of these people are implementing any policies. That's not how government in this country works anymore. At this point, the most important thing that the president of the United States can be is a symbol of this country. Somebody fucking cool, excuse my language, somebody with swagger, somebody who doesn't embarrass us on the world stage. That is what I believe in 2023. The most important job of the president of the United States is he's essentially a figurehead with the way our Congress has been acting the last 20 years. We haven't let him in on this. What do you think? Are you familiar with what I just showed Biden?
I mean, I caught part of it while I was waiting in the lounge there. Without knowing the context of the whole thing, I mean, he was on the interview for what purpose?
Now, you're just pushing his agenda. He's president of the United States.
Bidenomics or Bidenomics,
whatever it is,
whatever they're calling it.
Right.
Okay,
Sit down with MSNBC Live. Quite a good get for MSNBC, as that's very much their target demo.
Yeah, I was shocked to see the president sitting in their studios. I mean, I do think that is a great get for them, but no different.
Don't do live interviews. That is a very rare thing.
Unless you're Trump on Fox. I mean, same thing.
No, Trump doesn't
not even live.
Fox, yeah, those are taped. That's why I'm saying maybe he was confused. Because, but if he is confused,
he used to call into like Fox and Friends like 3 times a week and just chat with them.
before he was president.
When he was president.
Early on. But it's rare for a president to go on live TV. No advice.
Right, but it's
a good idea.
It's very much kind of part of the territory now with this division of, okay, this channel leans this way, this channel leans that way. I think MSNBC is probably closer to the middle than CNN. If you were going to go on.
What? But the MSNBC is far left. They have
I think that personally the hosts
they are far left.
Right, but I think the hosts on CNN are more dogged at Trump without really an argument. Like it seems like MSNBC poses more of an argument left side to me.
Well, yeah, it is rare for a president to sit down and do a live interview. Biden has never done one before. So, it was weird, and it was probably a gift to a friendly news network where they figured they're going to throw the old man softballs in the middle of the day. I still maintain that it's not about the policies, as James brought up. I think it's more about the image of the individual. He's embarrassing. He's embarrassing, toddling around out there.
Well, that doesn't mean.
And I also push back on the second stages of dementia. You know what? Piss off with that. You're not a doctor. That's some partisan bullshit. He's an old man who seems to be lacking the crispness that I think we all would prefer in a president. But, we haven't had that in a number of years. So.
But I mean, really, let's be honest. I mean, at 70, are you going to be that? You are not
80.
your best at 70. You're not your best at 80. You're not.
Let's not say 70. The man is 80 years old. And yes, there is some degradation and there is some, not with everybody, but certainly.
No, there is with that. You're fooling yourself if you think you get to 70 and you get to 80 and you're as good as you were at 60. I just
wait a
don't
second. How are you measuring good? What are you talking about? It's mentally sharp? Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with that. I think there are plenty of people in their 80s who are sharp.
I've seen more people in their 80s not have it mentally together than any other category of people.
More likely, I would say. Because,
right. And so, that's what I'm saying. Who are we kidding? I mean, if we're thinking that this guy isn't showing us signals of the fact that he's not on top of his game at 70 or 80,
he's not on top of his game. He is not.
He's not the best. He is not the best version of him that he could be. And I think that speaks to how bad this has got, because you can't vote for the other guy.
Yeah. So you vote for the idiot who wanders around on stage. And I don't even know that I want to vote for him. James, I do want to get more into that whole thing. You really think the president of the United States is a guy that can get powerful policy changes that appeal to a very specific group? I mean, I think you might be right in the in the short term, but there's 2 years from now going to be midterm elections, and that's all going to get, that's what we're seeing now. We see nothing but a logjam in Congress. Our president just needs to look good in a suit.
Okay, so how do you explain Obamacare? It's literally named after the president. He's the guy who got it pushed over the line. He's the guy who used his popularity and his political capital that made the wave that forced the incumbents in Congress to jump on it and surf that to their next election. Absolutely, presidents can steer an agenda. Absolutely. Well, I mean, they don't make it.
You want me to explain Obamacare? It was a great thing that a lot of people love, and the reason it's not going anywhere and everybody's failed when they've campaigned on trying to get rid of it. People like it, especially the people who have it. Yeah. And someone like me whose life was saved by it. My life was literally saved. I suffered a major heart injury. And had I not been living in a state where I was able to participate in the exchange and pay for full medical insurance for $100 a month, I would have never gone to the emergency room. And if I hadn't gone to the emergency room, I'd have gone home, laid on my couch, and died of a heart attack. So, I mean, Obamacare is popular. That's why a policy like that gets through. That's why. If you have good policies, you can convince the American people to back it.
Well, and Biden was honestly part of Obamacare. I mean, he did some of the heavy lifting to get it through. I mean, to say he didn't is not accurate.
I think you wrote a coattail.
I wasn't here to debate the merits of Obamacare. I was here to point out the fact that Obama's big push for it is the reason why it got passed under him and not everyone else who had tried it before him. He was the difference maker in that. And yes, presidents can have some sort of effect on policy. However, I don't care if the guy is demented or if he stutters or if he falls down steps. I don't give a rip. That doesn't matter. What policies does this guy stand for? And of course, he's in decline at age 80. We're all going to be not 100% of what we were. I don't think we're going to be like 50%. We'll probably, like, Warren Buffett sounds fine when he does interviews and he's like 95. And I'm sure he's not where he was when he was 60, but he might be 95% there. And that's good enough to run the country. The other thing that I will concede here is that the guy that's supposed to be the figurehead with a bunch of swagger and look cool, that is important on the foreign policy front, but it still doesn't matter because we are so far ahead militarily of everyone else. We're not going to get attacked just because we have a doofus of a leader. We're insulated from that. So there's almost no negative consequences to having a guy with mental decline be the president. Joe Biden's mental decline bothers me none.
We still have to be an economic player on the global stage, and our president has to be someone that is taken seriously. Now, we're not going, yes, we have the biggest military, so we can force economic advantages, to ourselves from the rest of the world militarily, but we ain't gonna do that. So in the meantime, we have to have a guy who can make deals, who people like. I would argue, and again, this goes back to, I think it's more important. I think the foreign policy president of the United States is the most important and last remaining thing that he has any control over. Is the foreign policy stage. He doesn't control nobody. It doesn't matter who the president of the United States is, James. I can't see a time in the future where anybody who doesn't wear the same color jacket as you is going to be liked. This country is divided 50-50, and I don't see it going back. So as far as, do you think we'll have a unifying president ever again? I just don't see that happening. So I turn my attention to, are we being laughed at? And I think that we've been laughed at for the last few years. That's what bothers me.
I don't know. I don't care if anyone laughs. Let them laugh. We're number one. It's like the Cleveland Browns laughing at the New England Patriots in the teens.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm saying. That's, that might be construed as some arrogance and the kind of thing that,
It is. Well, look,
it's bad luck. We're number one. Fuck the other countries, so we're going to go in militarily and maintain our quality of life because we do depend on the rest of the world economically. Really.
Oh, I know, and they'll willingly trade with us. We don't have to force them. We're their best customer for most of them.
No concerns about India, Brazil, and all these rising populations that are going to be bigger consumers than we are, especially for some of these emerging nations. I mean, I think you need to be a player on the global stage is all I'm saying.
Of course, but that's what the business side of America is so good at. Look at how well we're already starting to integrate our economies with India. We're having more and more stuff that's made in India versus made in China, and when you call tech support, you don't get some random Chinese dude. You get some random Indian dude. Then them dudes know English, and whenever we get a few more like crossover commercially, maybe we start watching a little more Bollywood, maybe they start using a little more iPhones. It's going to be a lot more seamless with India than almost any other country because they were
Bollywood movies look stupid. You ever seen a Bollywood? I don't know that that's interesting that you bring that up because I've often thought, could Bollywood cross over in America? And every time I see like a Bollywood thing, I think this is the most absurdly stupid thing I've ever seen.
I think we're in the Bollywood phase where it's almost there. Like when Fox first came out as a network, those first couple of years sucked. But then all of a sudden there was like the Tracy Ullman show showing up, and then there was some other shows that I don't really quite remember, and then all it takes is like a Married with Children or a Simpsons, and boom, Bollywood's got something, and something like a Slumdog Millionaire. I know that wasn't a Bollywood show, but something kind of close there that Bollywood is on the verge of making a jump, and all it takes is one or two legitimate movies, and that stigma turns right around. And now it's not something that's weird and dumb and second rate and minor league. Now it's just kind of up there, but exotic.
All right, there you go. I just wanted to show crazy old Joe and how embarrassing he is, and I'm just tired of this old man wandering around. It's hard. It's hard for me because I voted for him and I vote for him again, and especially if it means staving off that other guy. But I don't like him. I would love to have another guy that I could get behind, that I could get excited about. No, I shouldn't say that. I don't dislike him. He seems like a nice old man. He's an old war horse. Go home, retire, just go away. I don't even know. he'd been a politician for like 30 years before Obama sort of resurrected him as a cool guy, right? I remember him not being such a cool guy in the 90s, right? I remember his like 20 years of trying to live down the plagiarism scandal of his 88 election run and all that stuff. He was kind of a joke. So just go away, Joe. Just go away.
But you say that, right?
Yeah.
And then you think about the alternative, particularly in light of the things that have come about.
Yeah, I don't need to go into.
Well, but we're not going to go into that. I'm saying
myself,
but I'm saying I'm not going into that. But you say that, and I'm more bothered that I have to vote for a guy that I think is just maybe going to stay even. Maybe going to stay even. I don't see Biden pushing the country into this great level of success. But given the other guy the wheel, after seeing how he operated and lies about how he operates.
That's not you, though. That's the way you're wired, and that's.
But I'm saying that just seems crazy.
I can't believe that we have a president who, if he was our grandpa and we lived with him after he went to bed, we would have to check to make sure the stove was off. He's just not.
But that's safer. That guy is safer.
Probably because that guy can be controlled. I think that's probably the thing. I don't know. Let's move on. James, do you have anything? Or I've got some other things that we can jump into.
And I think you hit it on the head. That is the sad thing. It's like we're settling for that guy because he's safer.
Well, we didn't have any choice. There were no other viable choices. Somehow.
Well, but there is a choice. That's how bad the other choice is.
Why is voting third party such like a non-starter for so many people?
Because they can't win. It's got to be a Republican. A Republican's got to.
I know. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You just want to be in the game. No. There's two teams that are in the Super Bowl, and your team and the team you really want didn't make it. So you're just choosing one of the two so you can be involved, I guess. You people don't even like the policies that you vote for. You don't like the parties you vote for. Most Republicans and Democrats. I'm tired of hearing both y'all gripe about that.
No, you're right. Most people, that's absolutely true. If people do not vote for their best interests, they don't like the policies, they don't understand them, they don't read them. They vote for the image. They vote for the person. I don't want to talk about this. Hey, we should be talking about other things. Edie, got anything you want to bring to the table? Because like I said, I got a full damn show here. James, how about you?
Nothing. Go.
No? Anything?
I mean, things about things I could talk about. Sure. What do you want to talk about? I mean, what? Like, hey, there's plenty I can bring up that I'd like to talk about, but no, I don't think. I mean,
well, then we're gonna have to have a nice little segment. We'll call it E's Corner, where you can just riff, and we'll sit back and we'll see if we can pick anything out of that. But if you're not gonna bring segments, I have segments. First of all, I wanted to ask you guys about this. Have you ever heard of this? I fell into a Wikipedia hole, some weird, my Chicago Bears, I'm a fan of the Chicago Bears. My Chicago Bears are like going to build a new stadium in one of the suburbs around Chicago. So all these suburbs are vying for the attention, and we want to build the new stadium.
I thought it was at Arlington Park.
Yeah, no, they're backing up. The Bears are backing out of that. The Bears bought that land, but they're not going to put the stadium there because they're pissed off at the county for raising them. Once the Bears bought the land, the tax assessor jacked up the land value, and now they're trying to fold that into.
So did they destroy the racetrack, or is the racetrack still there?
Arlington Park is gone. Arlington Park is gone. It's owned by the Hallis McCaskey family. They will either develop it for a new stadium or they'll develop it as, something else. But they develop things. So
okay. All right.
That's where the stadium was supposed to go. Now that's up in the air. So the town of Aurora, Illinois, has stepped up. And the town of Aurora is famous.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World, yeah, probably most famous for Wayne's World. Stan Mikita's Donuts and the whatnot. So the town of Aurora has stepped up and said they want to put the studio there. So I fell in an Aurora wiki hole. And I like to say jokingly on the noon show, which, by the way, there will be no noon show tomorrow. More on that at the end. I like to say jokingly that there were no rules in this world before 1995, that you could basically, there were outlines, but you could basically get away with anything. You could push the limits. Nothing was recorded. Nobody got caught. It was your word against it. You know what I mean? It was just, so before 1995, there were no rules. And one of the things that really sort of drove this home for me was learning about Aurora, Illinois. I learned that they are the nation's largest. There are more of these kinds of homes in Aurora, Illinois, than anywhere else in the country. And when I learned the kind of home it was, I fell into a wiki hole, and I'm like, oh my God. Do you guys know that for 40 years in this country, people bought their houses through Sears catalog and had it delivered on a train? The Sears catalog home was a real thing. And Aurora, Illinois has like the last 50 of the original Sears catalog homes.
What year was this?
1901 through 1940. They discontinued the Sears model home. Now, I don't know. What are you thinking? Are you thinking what? Modular, right? Like maybe what we'd call today.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking fully built, rolled over into the thing, and then set down.
I don't know how that's possible.
I don't either, but I lived in a house in Highland Park that was part of the World's Fair.
Oh, so it was one of those houses.
So it was one of those houses that they built, and I think it was over there like at Fair Park, and then somehow it ended up in Highland Park.
Well, here, this is the catalog. This is the Honor Built Modern Home, Sears Roebuck and Company. That's the kind of, look at that house. That house is beautiful. Look at this. This is a Sears home. That house was ordered in 1925 out of catalogs, and it came via boxcars and trains. How amazing is this? I mean, I was thinking, little shotgun shacks.
So we all think of Sears from our childhood as the anchor of our second favorite mall, and it was Amazon.com for about 60 years.
Oh yeah, most certainly, yeah.
And so
So is that the building plan?
Years. Yes, this is that house here. This is this house. Okay, here it is. So this is how this house was sold. It's $6,488. Nice. That's a reason to have a time machine, right? Go back in time and buy up all these houses.
Yeah, but an ounce of gold was $26.
Yeah,
6,482. Wow.
I'm trying to see what the what the square
Like
footage-
some of that looks like you would have to have a construction crew. I think maybe builders were just, Sears was the builder or the general contractor.
Yes, when you buy a 10-speed, there's some assembly required, definitely on a house.
Well, actually, it goes into that. Here, I can read how these things were done. Sears Modern Homes were homes sold primarily through mail order catalog services provided by the Sears Roebuck and Company. From 1908 to 1942, Sears sold more than 70,000 of these homes in North America. Sears Modern Homes offered more than 370 designs. 370. I mean, could you imagine that? I mean, now, how do we buy houses? We go to a neighborhood and we tour 3 different models and we choose one of the 3 that we like best. 3, you could just get a catalog of like all of these, and people just, without ever touring them, without ever being inside them. And it's not like we joke about $6,000. $6,000 was a lot of money back in 1910 or whatever.
It was $600,000 now almost. It's like $500,000.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that's a lot of money. Sears discontinued its Modern Homes catalog after 1940, though sales through local sales offices continued into 1942. Let's see here. There's some real interesting things about it, about how they were put together. Shipped by railroad boxcar and then usually trucked to a home site, the average Sears Modern Home kit had about 25 tons of material with more than 30,000 parts. Plumbing, electrical fixtures, and heating systems were options that could be ordered at additional cost. They were many families' first steps to modern HVAC systems, kitchens, and bathrooms. During the Modern Homes program, large quantities of asphalt shingles became available. Asphalt shingles were cheap to manufacture and ship and easy and inexpensive to install. Sears also offered plasterboard products. So that's like, so are they saying it's like shittier stuff? Hold on. There's this thing here about how if you needed help assembling your home, you could pay extra, and Sears would send like a group of Sears home installers out, and they would literally install your washer and dryer, install your home. Like they would put your home together for you. Or they also talked about how in many communities it was sort of a barn raising kind of thing where family and friends, especially in rural America, where you would buy the new farmhouse, it would come, and then everybody in the town would get together and they'd build your new beautiful farmhouse. That is insane to me. I mean, you had a house that slid into a creek, right? So, I mean, how many of these houses were put together by people who didn't know what they were doing that cracked in half or?
Like, do you think they put them all together like with one Allen wrench?
Yeah.
Like today when you go to IKEA, like you buy something and everything goes together like with one Allen wrench. Was there like one Sears
IKEA?
like screw that like, okay, like you were putting the walls together and like every one you just, because I mean, like imagine you're out there like as a family building your 30,000 part Lego house. Like go get the Phillips, go get the straight edge. Like, I mean, you would think they would have to like have some like kind of standardization of like,
Are they like Legos? I mean, how are you supposed to put these things together? Because look, this house, this one that we were looking at here. Actually, here, let me.
I mean, how long did it take to build?
I don't.
Like, what's the average? What was like the building time? I mean, they had to like give you some kind of like, hey, you're spending $6,000, you know, $500,000. You're going to be able to move into your brand new 30,000 part house once you assemble it for, you know, 60 days. Like ages, like, do you need to be age appropriate to buy it? Like, was there something on the box that says for ages like 18 and up?
Well, did y'all ever live in a trailer home growing up?
No.
That's where you grew up, right?
Well, no, I lived in a trailer home for just like a few years, but I ended up living in a log cabin for the majority of my childhood, which doesn't sound much more opulent. But when they drop that sucker off, they hook up the septic tank, the water line, the electricity, and the propane, and then they are done. So,
but everything works, right?
Everything worked within 48 hours. Yes. Yeah. Like they like dropped it off, set it up, and like steadied it.
But you're not dropping that off.
And then the next day, everyone come and they all did their job in like 10 minutes.
Hey, E, here's one for you.
A rail car is not taking that in small sections. Like, I mean, that's not going together in a day.
No.
Look at this house here. It's $2,500. $2,500.
I want to know the assembly time.
9-room house.
You could invade Mexico for $2,500 in 1901.
Dude, this one is $1,079. This house is awesome.
Dang, that is incredible.
Look at how tall it is.
No, that house is awesome.
So if this is built to go on a train, everything you see on that house at one point had to fit in a boxcar and be no bigger than that.
Right.
So that roof is in sections, and this thing probably snapped together like freaking Legos.
Yeah,
and I ain't buying that. I think they're putting it together. I think they ship the parts and then they put it together.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Here's the deal.
No, but when I say the parts, I mean like small parts.
You got it.
And then they're like doing the framing. Like, I don't think they're shipping the framing. Maybe. I don't know. Because like it doesn't it need a foundation? Like, are you just not going to set that on like?
Not really.
What are you going to do? You just got to put it on the dirt. Look at this one here. This is the Alhambra. This cost $1,900. This looks like every grand old historic home you'd see in Beverly Hills, California. And this is $1,900 purchased in a catalog and delivered on a boxcar. Jeez. That's a beautiful home, man. Look at that. There's a balcony on the top that overlooks a veranda porch, carport, no garages.
But what are you doing the day before they deliver it? Like what's the lot look like?
I don't know. Here's this colonial again. This one's our favorite, right? This one is badass. This looks like something from Django Unchained. Look at that.
I mean, there's got to be some like assembly photos, like of them going together.
Why didn't they keep doing this? Did they like fail bad? Like the second there was an earthquake or a tornado, they just collapsed like a matchstick?
No, they stopped doing. The story goes that it ended after World War II, and all the GIs came back, and they were given these bills. There started to be these new Levitt towns. Have you heard of these Levitt towns? Levitt was just a nut. You're from the East Coast. Did you have any Levitt towns near you?
I don't remember that word.
Levitt was
a Levittown in Long Island.
Yes, that's the original Levittown, but there's
Okay.
Levittown, Pennsylvania. There's Levittowns all over. Levitt was a builder who did these mass neighborhoods. He built these mass neighborhoods, and that kind of competition to the buying the house through the catalog killed off the catalog business. People, the guys who came home from World War II, they wanted to walk through their new homes. They were getting bigger homes because of the GI. It was the first time that they had all these advantages of coming back from war, and they could get home loans and all this kind of stuff. So Levitt took advantage of that and basically drove the catalog home business out of business.
Well, the other thing I could see is being just expensive. I mean, shipping from point A to point B is an added cost. If it's having to always come out of a particular location, the further away you get, the more expensive it gets. Where somewhere, if somebody just probably jumps the shipping line, they're cutting the cost.
Yeah.
Have you locked up on us? That hadn't happened in a while. Are you doing something with your social media account or something?
No, am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, no, the internet in the house is going in and out. So it's not a computer thing. It's just it's an internet thing. It's the internet here. We're having some issues.
Are you wired?
I am hardwired.
Hardwired?
I am.
That's weird.
All right, so I just Googled what Byron suggested I Google, which is Sears catalog home assembly. All right, let's see what these are. This looks like pictures of tools you would need. I don't know what we're looking at. It's not very good because these are all old like newspaper.
So they send that? Were the tools included?
Let me see what we're looking at here. It says bring me. Nope, that's not it. All right, never mind. I thought there were going to be pictures of like houses being constructed, being put. What is that? What did we just see there? Oh, $725, man. Look at this one on the right. It's $725. I'll take two. Thank you very much.
Looks like Barbie is going to pop out of that one.
Fine, man. Hey, man, the tiny home craze is big in this country. People love their tiny homes. $725. Ah. Now, how much you're charging me for the dirt that it sits on, right? That's the real estate it sits on is probably going to be the big non-starter. All right, boys, that's it. I just wanted to show you what people did. Crazy shit, buying houses through catalogs and beautiful homes. That's why, because I was shocked at how beautiful those homes were.
Imagine what your imagination has got to be to like plunk down $500,000 on something that you can't even actually walk into.
I mean, people trust, man. Seriously, hey, when a brand had a good reputation, people would trust them implicitly, and Sears Roebuck had that reputation among the American consumer.
But I'm literally giving you $500,000 and you're sending me a house that I am somehow supposed to assemble.
Hey, sorry, your house fell off the truck. I mean, I don't know. It's just so weird.
Well, sorry that you didn't put the main Clahoutin valve bolt in the right spot and a twister came by and blew your house down.
Yeah. Well, and that's another interesting thing. So the last ones were sold in 1940, 42, like that. And when I was reading up on Aurora, 50 of them are still in use and people are still living in them. They're not museums. People still live in these houses. So they were sturdy as hell. I mean, I'm not going to, we can't.
How were they even level?
I have no idea.
You sit down at the kitchen table and your food kind of goes this way. Just if the house is off like an inch, I mean.
Right? I don't know.
Like, who sends you the foundation? Like, here, dig yourself. I mean, try to install a fence and make sure that they're all level. Like,
See if we
that's
can see
hard to
some of these
do.
houses that are. Damn it.
All right. If you're done, do you have something else or can I go?
No, you can go.
I thought you had more than one thing.
Yeah, I do. I got a bunch of things, but go ahead.
Well,
Bunch of Sears houses.
Oh
not
yeah,
sure.
well, I was just looking for. Sorry, my internet keeps going in and out. So James, go ahead, take it.
I was just gonna say because I'm not sure how enthusiastic y'all will be about this story, and I'm not even as so sure as enthusiastic as I am about this story. There's something rubs me wrong about this situation. I like talking to you guys about stuff like this. So the headline here: NFL suspends 3 more players for entire 2023 season for gambling violations, and I don't know what everyone's got sand in their panties about gambling for. Like, I don't understand why it's illegal to begin with. Like, I can't play poker in the back room of my house or the back room of some restaurant with my friends. And so what if money changes hands? I could play.
You're a Christian. It's a vice. This is, all a part of our ridiculous.
Yeah, but this is different though. This is a part of it that's a beyond the vice. That's wrong.
I can admit it's a vice. But also I can admit this Southern Comfort that I'm drinking right now is a vice, and I do not deserve to be thrown in jail for having a Southern Comfort and Dr. Pepper Zero. Right.
But what's your problem with the suspension, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. Are you saying that they shouldn't be suspended because they're gambling?
Well, hang on. Allow me for some nuance. Generally speaking, yeah. Unless you're betting on your own team, or I would even break it down more, unless you're betting against your own team. There doesn't seem to be any like hint of impropriety from my point of view. And everyone seems to disagree with me on that. And I don't understand why.
Here's been my problem with this gambling in sports from the beginning. I don't understand if I'm a professional athlete, and let's just go back to like the 1980s when just every sport, gambling was illegal. There weren't even riverboats. It was still considered something bad. You had to go to Vegas, blah, blah, blah. So if I'm an athlete and I get like Pete Rose and I get caught gambling, all of a sudden, I'm basically a pedophile. It was like one of the worst things that you could be. And I never understood this. And I never understood it because I didn't understand if he was in trouble because the league felt morally that gambling was a vice and were against it, which is one thing, or if he was in trouble because they were like, he could be throwing games and that wrecks the integrity of American or baseball. So which was it? Because those are two very different concerns. One concern falls along principled lines, which I can say, you know what? Okay, good for you. I may not agree with you there, but these are your principles. The other one is just punitive because you think your players are dirtbag con men. You know what I mean? So which is it? Is gambling not allowed in sports because you think your players or participants are going to get involved in illegal activity? Or is it just, gambling because gambling is improper? That was never quite explained to me.
I think it's both.
Well, because players are getting suspended all the time who aren't even gambling on their own sport. So it can't necessarily be about them, being involved in like fixing games or anything.
Well, I think it's
gambling
both.
Is wrong.
And it's not that gambling is wrong. I think with the amount of money that is being wagered on professional sports, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, all of those sports, the amount of money now you see DraftKings and you see FanDuel and you see just, I mean, they're everywhere.
And this leads back to my contention.
Right.
That is morally wrong.
No, that industry has advanced itself now to a place where it is not morally wrong, and the amount of money that they make from an athlete gambling relative to the general public is minimal. And for there then to have that crowd that's betting somehow feel that the athlete maybe throwing the game is just too big of a risk because now there's so much money being made, and these teams
Okay, so
are part of gambling.
You're taking a third path, which is that the reason they're enforcing the gambling in 2023 is because there is so much gambling advertising money that they don't want to do anything that would reflect poorly on that product. That's an interesting third way.
Well,
And
think about it when you go to casino.
I think what E just suggested is absolutely the correct answer. I hadn't even considered that, but he's right. They got in bed with the
I would say the counterexample is these gambling suspensions long predated these legal betting sponsors.
No, they did. But a lot of those, not real. Well, here's the problem with that: the opportunity to gamble before all these sponsors were around, the FanDuels, and before states started on their own legalizing sports gambling. The opportunities weren't there. So like in the 90s, you couldn't just use your phone while you're sitting in the locker room and place a bet on tonight's game. That's what guys are doing. And that's what they're concerned.
Well, that and the other thing is you're in a situation.
In the 90s, you were dealing with bookies, and maybe that was a concern because now you're mixing in a criminal element.
Well, no, there's always been the concern. There's always been the concern that the athlete gets in bed with the mob or somehow gets indebted to the mob. And then the mob goes, well, hey, we don't want you to throw the game, okay, but we don't want you to win by 15 points. We want you to win by 5 points. And if you win by 5 points, you haven't hurt your season. You haven't done anything wrong. You just haven't covered because everybody thinks that the Chicago Bulls are going to beat the, Buffalo Braves by 30 points. And so you don't play really hard if you're Jordan. You hit the, front of the rim or the back of the rim because you're that good and you know how to sink it. You're also that good that you know how to miss it. And that is essentially a cancer that then is in the sports bettor's mind if you find out that Jordan was betting. Whether he's betting on himself or against himself, the point spread is what decides whether that's a winning bet or a losing bet. And just because I go and bet doesn't necessarily mean that that's the side I want. We're talking about people throwing the line. I mean, if you bet a lot of money on one team, the point spread moves. You then really wanted the other team to win. You then go back and bet more money on the other team. You now have gotten an advantage just by thinking that you wanted this team when you really wanted the other team.
James, we've told you now what we think about gambling. What was your question again? What's the question?
Okay.
Well, it's a complicated answer.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted. Now that I've got you on the record with your stated policy preferences or whatever. Let's go into the details of this case that was just announced today. This is from USA Today. The NFL today suspended 3 players for a full season. Y'all, I don't know. I don't understand.
It should be longer than that. They're lucky.
Dude, it should. This is ridiculous. Hang on. Let's go. Here's the other one. There was another player that was suspended for 6 games in the latest batch of punishments for violations of the league's gambling policy. So there's a cornerback from the Colts, a defensive end, and a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I thought it was Titans lineman. Titans, 2 Colts and a Titans lineman, I think, are the ones that I'm aware of.
Right. So all 3 found to have placed wagers on NFL games last season.
None of them stars, by the way. I think that also needs to be. None of them are stars. They're
even more crazy.
One's a practice squad free agent. They're gunning for him.
Yes, and that's the crazy one. Like, he has no effect on the game whatsoever. What's he going to do? Go fart next to the coach during a crucial call?
What's to say he's not betting for the other guys in the locker room?
Yeah, that's possible.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You can't. Of course.
Straw purchaser. All right, here's the other one. Now, this one.
That's why he's so meaningless.
All right. It's a good point. All right. See, this is why I like talking to y'all about this stuff, because I didn't think of that. The other one, this one really bothers me, and I don't know if I can be talked out of this one. Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere was also suspended for 6 games for placing bets at the team's facility on non NFL games.
Again, it's the culture.
But so the culture is bad. So they don't want the players associating with the culture, but they'll take the checks from the people who drive the culture. Do you see the hypocrisy there?
I'm not saying it's not.
Right.
There's not
What
hypocrisy.
what I'm saying, to go to your point that I thought was so good a few minutes ago, if it is all about the NFL now trying to placate these new big money, look, let me tell you something.
They're trying to placate the sports better.
The sports better, or the sports betting operation?
Well, the sports better, which then in turn placates the sports betting operation. I'm the guy that's getting pissed off if I think that the guy's blowing the game late in the game.
Right. So the NFL is doing whatever they can to make sure that FanDuel is comfortable, because the FanDuels and the DraftKings, these entities in some of our largest population centers. Now, we don't have legalized gambling here in Texas, but I can tell you the way they've changed everything. Sports radio was a dying thing until places like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and all these other major cities, Boston, Philadelphia, all passed sports gambling. Do you know how flush with money local sports radio stations are in those states? Because it's 100% gambling ads. Gambling has changed the surface. Legalized gambling and the money associated with advertising that to the consumer has changed the landscape of sports in America. We don't see it here in Texas yet. I'm telling you, though, it's coming. You're going to listen to The Ticket one day. You're going to tune in wanting to hear all your crazy hijinks, and it's going to be nothing but betting lines.
Well, and think about how sports betting has changed its image.
Yes.
And cleaned itself up in front of the public.
They did the same thing that Vegas did. Las Vegas did the exact same thing. They cleaned up their image. They suddenly put on a corporate suit and got all glass and kid friendly. That's what gambling has done.
But you're in a roundabout way making my point. I don't know if you know I was going.
I'm not disagreeing with you. We're agreeing.
No. What I'm saying is Vegas has also cleaned up sports betting to the point now where they're comfortable enough having a hockey team,
right,
having a football team.
Right.
You were forbidden before of having a team in Vegas that was a sports team for fear that the mob was going to have that Vegas team throwing the lines, and then the sports books would not cover those bets. You couldn't even bet on college, UNLV, okay, when they were really, really a good team in college basketball. You were not able to find anybody in Vegas that would put up a line on UNLV. You would have to bet on UNLV with a bookie if you were going to wager.
And there's that element. James, you're trying to squeeze in here?
Yeah, this is we're getting really good at this, by the way, guys. So that brings me to the another detail that I want to get your response to. And so there were some guys that were suspended in April, and that kind of surprised me that they did a big round of them in like March and April, and then here's another round of them. Like, y'all didn't know about these guys a couple of months ago.
But they're sending a message right now.
That you are so right. You are way too much into this gambling insight here, Emil. But what we have here is this coincides with the public relations push from the NFL, where they have begun this month an effort to re-emphasize their gambling policy. And so from the article on USA Today, here is the 6 key rules the NFL has outlined for their players that they want to remind you of. And it's funny because these rules look like they're just as much for the general public to know as they are for the players to know. Number 1, don't bet on the NFL. Number 2, don't gamble at your team's facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel.
That's what one of them dudes got popped for. The guy, the Titans guy. He gambled. He placed the bet from the team facility. He's in a state where online and digital phone gambling is legal. Tennessee, it's legal there. You can do it. But it just so happens that one of the rules that the NFL has is that you cannot place your bets from a team facility. And he did everything. He did everything legal. He just played.
Why do you think that is? You got to know why.
Why don't you tell us? I mean, I assume that it's because
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm there, right? We're in a week of practice. And I'm the defensive line. Our stud running back comes through the line. I hit him. He snaps his foot. Okay, now he's got a broken foot.
Nobody knows it yet.
The line for that is X. Nobody knows it. I run to my locker room.
Wow.
I get on the phone and I'm like, hey, I want 15,000 on the other team because I know now the line is going to go in this direction. And I'm the first guy that knows.
That is freaking brilliant. That is absolutely a real scenario that I could see. That is a real. I didn't think of that. I assume
that's already illegal. You're not allowed to bet on the NFL. You're not allowed to bet on your.
Well, but he did that. That's why he's got a 1-year suspension.
Well, but he wasn't betting on football. He bet on baseball while at the football facility and has now lost a year of eligibility.
But if you're connected
on non-NFL, making the problem is he was making a non-NFL bet from a team facility, and that violated the rules.
Right. Say I'm betting on the Pelicans, okay, and my owner owns the Saints, and they own the Pelicans. Okay, I know the training staff, I know the crew, I know the doctors, I know everybody, and that's the scenario I'm giving you because you know that's true, James, right? So I don't necessarily have to be on an NFL team in order to get inside information on an NBA team.
Hang on. We hadn't done this in a while. We got to put Emil in the corner.
Okay.
Isn't it how funny he's like brain surgeon smart when we're talking about shady shit?
Yeah, I know. He's like had the most insightful comments on this whole conversation.
Goddamn moron when we're talking about Roman history or whatever. But yeah.
But yeah.
Well, no, I didn't. You're right. I didn't mean it that harsh. But anyway. All right. So the next one, number 3, don't have someone bet for you. That was the straw better that Emil brought up earlier. Brilliant. Number 4, don't share team inside information. Emil alluded to that with a great example of how Gail Benson owns both the Saints and the Pelicans in the market of New Orleans. Number 5, I found this one pretty cool. Don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. You can't even set foot. You can't even set foot into that bar in the MGM Grand that has a sports book until the day after the Super Bowl. Then you go knock yourself out.
So let me just give you the 30,000 foot opinion on this. I know there's a lot of nuance, and we just went through a whole bunch of it. He had a lot of great points, but those are like sort of more nuanced and specific points. Here's what I think is going on. This is why the NFL is willing to look hypocritical, okay? Because I think they do look hypocritical, taking all this money from the new gambling sites and then turning around and acting like gambling is bad. Here's what I believe is happening. At the very high,
they're not saying gambling's bad. They're saying the look of impropriety is bad.
Exactly. The guys, yes, okay. We're not going to part. We're on the same page here. Here's what I think is happening. I think the FanDuels and the DraftKings, who are pumping all of this newfound money into the NFL, money that the NFL wasn't ringing the cash register 4 or 5 years ago. You know, this is new. These laws are new. So these companies are new. And boy, oh boy, they are outpacing cars.
There's casinos at the stadiums.
Yeah, they are outpacing cars. They are outpacing beer. They've outpaced. They're the number one sponsor of NFL football. So here's what I think is happening. I think Mr. DraftKings and I think Mr. FanDuel or whomever is standing there and they're looking at the commissioner's office and they're saying, we want to be. It is our job as guys who are going to be taking money from the great unwashed. People are going to be trusting us with their money. They expect us to be legit. We need to look beyond reproach. We cannot be seen as, this shady gambling organization. We're corporate. We're shiny. We got stadiums. We've got, like he said, we got clubs at the stadiums and all that stuff. We are not the old image of what gambling is. And I think that directive to the NFL includes any of your players who are gambling, who could give the impression to our potential gamblers that there's a fix or that something like that, you got to nip that in the bud. And I think that's what it's about. I think it's about the integrity of placing your bet with the FanDuels and the DraftKings and not so much about the NFL. I think it's FanDuel and DraftKings that is putting pressure on the NFL to make sure that these guys are called out because they're afraid of because if I'm going to start sports betting, I want to believe that I'm placing it with a legit thing and that there's not or anything like that.
I actually own some shares in DraftKings. So if you're going between FanDuel and DraftKings, for my sake, can you go with them? Just full disclosure here. Hey, I got one more bullet point, and I've been loving Emil's response on all these, so I'm going to go to him first. The number 6 thing that the NFL wants you and everyone in America to know about their gambling policy is their players are not allowed to play daily fantasy football. Now, and it says daily in there, and it's specific. What is so dangerous about daily fantasy football, but regular fantasy football is okay? Explain that one to me, Emil.
Well, I think you play fantasy football on a daily basis, like in terms
News
of
breaks every day.
Oh wait, you don't know what daily-
you're setting your roster, okay, to play another team. You're making decisions based on what people are saying after Sunday's game. What did the injury report look like for so and so who is a wide receiver? Is he going to be able to play? Who are you going to start? Who are you not going to start? Who do you got to pick up? Who you got to trade for? All that stuff there, okay, is essentially you telegraphing with your own fantasy football team things that you know that are maybe inside information that other people can now watch and now follow you. And so in a way, you're not saying, hey, I'm cheating, but I'm watching you and your plays in a daily fantasy football type of thing. And I'm going, whoa, why would Josh Allen, be betting on Stephon Diggs to go over 6 catches today? I mean, that's fantasy football. Why would Josh Allen be betting on Stephon Diggs to not gain 80 yards? Because he ain't going to throw it to him. I mean that if I saw that and I saw you as a player doing that, I wouldn't have to hear any inside information. I would just tail your bets.
Okay, so I think I may have caught you not knowing what DFS is. Daily fantasy sports is a whole genre. And what we have here is daily fantasy sports allows you to do fantasy football without having the same team for the whole season. What you can do is just pop in on a Sunday, pick out a lineup, see how they do, and then you get part of some of these pots. Now, FanDuel and DraftKings are the main guys that do this. Bookies, regular old bookies, don't do this, but both of the big platforms, DraftKings and FanDuel's, allow you to come up with the lineup, whatever the sport is, right? So,
you have a certain amount of dollars, and you have to sign the people to your roster based on those dollars. And,
right,
but you would be signing guys at cheaper numbers if you know those guys are going to play. And then that gives you an advantage because then you buy your Josh Allens and your things where everybody else is having to spend that kind of money.
Correct.
And so if you get the most points, you win.
No, you get that, and Pugs gets that. I'm just explaining to the people who are wondering because most fantasy football is okay in the NFL's new anti-gambling policy. If you're a guy that's going to go out there and get a team and just roll through the entire season, that's cool. But if you're going to go on one of these platforms and at any given day there is some sport that is playing a game, so whether it's NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, soccer, college football, college basketball, whatever it is, on that day there is something being played, even down to WNBA and Canadian football. And you can go in and you can pick out a lineup and play people who are doing the same thing. Now that is specifically against the NFL policy, but regular fantasy football or regular fantasy sports is not.
Yeah, so because of the change in information on a daily basis. If I start out with the team at the beginning of the year and that guy gets hurt, I'm stuck with that team the whole entire way. I can't change because of inside information. In a daily game where it's like, okay, today we're going to have a $100,000 pot. Everybody jumps in and you got a $30,000 on your roster. You now got to go field a team with $30,000. Okay, we want $20,000 for Hill. What's his name? The wide receiver for Miami. So I'm going to put him on my team. You might put him on your team. Somebody else is going to go buy, I'm not going to get Hill. I'm going to go get this receiver for $1,000. I'm going to get this guy and that guy. And now I'm going to go get a Josh Allen or somebody that I know is going to score. So I have a different roster, but my roster's made with cheaper players.
All right.
See, this is why I wanted to ask y'all about that. This is why I wanted to bring it up. I saw gambling and shady mob related stuff, and I thought Emil would have the answers to all this, and he did.
I hate fantasy football talk. Jeez. I'm about to face that
This
with
is gambling talk.
Well, it's
This is-
different between daily fantasy football and weekly. Oh, I'm in a fantasy football league, and these are my players.
No, you explained it very well. It's inside information is more of a factor.
all
You're right.
What else? Anything else, James, on this story?
No. That was it. That was my last bullet point.
Well, when you look at all of those, right, you go through your list of 6, what do you figure out? It's generally inside information that's the problem, which scares the crap out of the bookmaker because the bookmaker makes the line based on what he thinks is going to happen. The minute you know something is going to happen that the bookmaker doesn't, you've got an advantage. It may not play out that way, but you have an advantage.
That's great.
Think about, and this is the other thing you got to think about too, right? Which people don't understand if you're not a gambler. So I come out right now and I'm the Bills and I start betting on myself on Monday, right? So a lot of money goes on the Bills. Well, if a lot of people are betting on the Bills, that means that the Bills are going to have to give up more points.
Right.
So if I were the Bills and I bet it over here, I got myself -2 or 3. If I run the line to 6 or 7, now I bet the other team. Now I get the other team plus 6 or 7 points. If I can make the game fall in between where the line moved, I win both. And so this is inside information and making the line move and then betting one way and then going back and betting the other way. The bookie could lose both bets. The most he could win is 10%. And so when a whole team or 2 teams are going, wait a minute, we're at the end of the season. We want to cash a check and we would like to go off to Tahiti. Let's throw this last game. Like the Mavs when they threw their last game. Wouldn't you like to have known that they weren't going to play hard? I mean, Cuban got fined like what, 750,000 or $1 million for throwing the game.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why all these leagues are so anti-tanking now, because of the bettings, because of the betting sites. You know, a lot of teams. Just yesterday, you're a hockey guy. I'm not much of a hockey guy, but the Chicago Blackhawks got what they claim is a generational player, and it's because they refuse to play hard for an entire season. They tanked the whole damn season. We saw this with Miami a couple of years ago. Remember when they were tanking for Tua? How does this play into?
Well, that's exactly why FanDuel and that cannot allow that to happen.
They've got to go nuts with that, right? You get
of course
laying down, not playing their starters, and then waiting till just before game time to make that announcement after.
Well, that's why all this injury stuff is so important. Like you can't hide an injury. If you're not reporting that he's not practicing and you're not giving a reason why, then
to fix that?
He's not going to play.
Another thing that might fix that: relegation and promotion.
Yeah, I love that idea. I absolutely love. Look, I don't give credit to the Brits very much. I think they come up with a lot of garbage and stuff that we had to, were forced on us, and then we fixed it. We made it better because that's what Americans do. But I will tell you something, James, the relegation idea. Now, how do you want that? Do you want that in baseball? Do you want that in all sports? How does that work? I love that's the one thing the Premier League soccer does well. If you absolutely suck, you got to go down to the amateurs. And then the best team that's down in the amateurs gets promoted. That is so much fun. Like, okay, so I guess this is we've had this little mental exercise before, but I think what we've come down with is, let's say University of Georgia is the best football team in college football, right? So the worst team in football last year, which would be my Chicago Bears, we would have been relegated, and we would have to next year play the Alabamas and the LSUs. But Georgia would then be brought up to participate in the NFL for a season. That I love that idea, and I don't understand soccer, but I love that is your entire team could be knocked down to the minor leagues. You want to talk about? I mean, these are $1 billion teams.
Yeah, and you would have a team that's in last place packing the stands for the last game of the season because this might be the last NFL game you guys get for a few years, and it's funny to watch. The teams that get demoted often get promoted in a season or two right back up, so it's usually just like a slap on the wrist. And there's a bunch of teams that are in the bubble going back and forth, but it works so great.
For an entire season, you don't get to play for the Super Bowl. Like,
no.
What
but you get to play.
You're not even in the mix.
Right. You would get to play in either like the XFL or the USFL, but that would mean we would actually have another league. And there's more of a demand for football than there is a supply. And there's no reason why a Portland can't have a football team that's professional and supports itself. There's no reason why like even a Birmingham can't have one. And, there's some giant metropolitan areas. San Antonio, it's got over 1 million people. They could support a football team. Yeah. Love it.
All right. I like the idea of relegation. I love that. God, I like it in baseball too. I like that.
Barney was spot on in the chat room.
What was Barney spot on?
A lot of his comments.
All right, good for Barney. Barney's a sharp tack. That Barney. He's here every
You know
night.
what?
Appreciate that. What?
See, baseball is the closest thing as far as our league structure goes to what would they have in England, because in baseball they don't just have a minor league, they have like 3 of them. And so in England they have like 3 of them, and they all have promotion and relegation between them. So there's like crap ass franchises that can go from A to AA to AAA to the majors. Like there's always hope for your minor league team. There's a reason to support a minor league team.
Yeah. All right, that's it. We got nothing. Anybody got anything they want to say? Nope.
Check out Florida Stories. Download it like you like. Depends on it.
There you go. There
Later.
goes James.
So, well, let's, before we jump off, we're off for a while, right?
No, I don't know.
I assumed we'd do a show Monday. Well, I'm going to keep doing shows. James,
yeah.
Monday,
Well,
we're off 4th of July, obviously.
Me and Pugs' travel budget is a little bit smaller than Abel.
No, he's not going anywhere. But he's got, family, and he's. Yeah.
But I'm saying if we're going to be at the lake,
well, we're not.
I don't think we've ever made it home on July 3rd. That's a Monday.
Yeah, July 4th
is
a
normal day, bro.
Yeah, Monday's just a normal day. Don't you? You see it?
No, I don't think so, dude. I think there's going to be fireworks. Like I think.
I
like,
don't know.
I don't think so, dude.
No, I'm doing shows.
Okay.
I have to do shows. Sorry.
Papa's got to work.
First of the month, man. People get paid. I'm doing shows first of the month. That's.
I ain't fighting you. I'm just saying. I don't think.
That's when we do our best tips.
Okay.
No, I mean 4th of July. I figure we go. I mean, wait. Are you? I mean, look.
I'm telling you, I am not going to be here on the 3rd.
No, that's fine.
Which is Monday.
And that's fine. That's fine.
I'm probably not going to get out of there by 9 o'clock. I just don't see it.
I don't think I can handle. I mean, that would be Saturday at the lake, Sunday at the lake, Monday at the lake, Tuesday at the. I don't think I could handle that. I want 4th of July to be special. I want it to be fun.
I'm telling you that the biggest day on the lake is the 3rd. It's not the 4th.
Yeah, that's all right.
It is. Well, it is. It always is.
That's not a selling point.
Because people are going to go home early. People are going to go home early on the 4th.
No, they're not.
Yeah, because they got to work on the 5th. The 3rd is going to be the day that everybody lets it out. I guarantee you.
It's a little much. I can't do that. I get too.
I'm not telling you to
do
it. I'm
just
saying you're going to find most people are going to go out on the 3rd.
This is me confronting how old I get. I don't know how you do it. He's a number of years older than me, not a lot of years older than me. He's a few years older than me. I don't know how he does it. I come home from a day at the lake, and I am absolutely wrecked and sound asleep within an hour. I don't understand how. I don't know. I think it takes a lot out of me.
Maybe you're a wuss.
Oh, maybe I'm 53 years old. Suniverse. I get sunburn. The sun is not my friend. I don't have that swarthy Latino blood like you, or the swarthy Sicilian Negro blood like E. I'm not, as we proved last night, I'm the whitest guy on the show.
That dude said Negro.
Negro. That's the Negro influence in Sicily. I was reading up about it.
I didn't hear that.
Didn't hear what?
I'm so offended. Oh,
There's nothing to be offended about.
You know I'm not offended.
It's an appropriate term to use.
No, no one's ever said, "Ooh, I'm worried I might have offended James."
Yeah, no. Yeah, nobody. I'm not. You know what? That's funny. I was reading something today about. So you know that Dylan Mullaney dude. Dylan Mullaney lady. She like lost her crap. She's like Breaking Bad on Bud Light now. She's like saying that like they didn't defend me and blah blah blah. And so I read this coverage of it. She's an idiot, but I read this coverage. I don't know. It was a Outkick. So it was like a right wing site, but they were like, so many of us were wildly offended by Bud Light giving promotion to the. And I'm like, James is probably of all my friends, he's the most articulately conservative. You can articulate your points. And so I can understand. Were you wildly offended that Bud Light gave this tranny a beer? I mean, were you really offended, or are we a bit dramatic?
Well, as someone who lives in Bug Tussle and everyone's sort of somewhat aware of it, like last weekend, I was at my brother-in-law's house and in the outside fridge by his pool, I opened his beer fridge and there was some Bud Light Lime in there, and I kind of like Bud Light Lime, and he had already bought it, so even if there is like a boycott going on or whatever, I didn't really care. So I opened it, I took 3 sips, and my dick fell off.
Dad, look at that. That's what happens.
What happens? God damn it! No, I'm always skeptical of boycott. Here's my answer to all boycotts. It's like, all right, you see all this plastic shit in the room you're using right now? That comes from petroleum products, a lot of which come from countries where they throw gay people off buildings. So what are you really boycotting, or are you just been convinced to boycott? Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that they were the opposition to Bud Light was portrayed as wildly offended. And I'm like, you snowflakes, that is so weak. You're not and let's be honest, nobody's wildly offended, but it's an opportunity to be overly dramatic and theatrical because it makes a point. You don't like it.
Well, there's a lot of people who are just sick of hearing it, period. They're
and that I get. As a matter of fact, I said, I think that a lot of the pushback about Pride Month isn't so much we hate gays, but it's more, oh, geez, this again. And there's a big difference between those two emotional reactions to Pride Month. The, oh, geez, this again doesn't mean you hate gays and you're a homophobe. Right. But any sort of pushback to, oh, God, this is so in my face all the time.
Well, yeah. And it's also like there hasn't been a day gone by in my life in the last 2 years when I hadn't heard the word trans. So, Jesus, I never had to worry about my beer being political before, but now I got to worry about it. God damn it. No, I don't have the energy to boycott anything. So whether you want to or not, that's up to you. I don't think any different of you if you do or don't boycott. I just don't.
My point is this: only truly crazy people with like real legitimate mental problems, only truly crazy people were wildly offended when Bud Light's PR department sent a beer to a tranny. That's all. You gotta be fucking crazy if that's really breaking up your day.
Yeah, just roll your eyes and go on about your day like the rest of us.
All right, I love you guys. Bye, everybody. All right, there goes E. There goes James. We are the Radio Misfits every Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. RadioMisfits.com for all your podcasting needs and all of your whatever else. Live streaming. That's right, the High Noon Show. I do that every Monday through Friday at noon. Hot topics, current events, headlines, everything you need to know. A quick little cheat sheet for all the things that are happening in your day. What else do I need to say? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is very important. There is not going to be a High Noon Show tomorrow. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't. I told you. It's summer rules, summer hours. I have my kid, so I'm picking up my kid tomorrow, and all day tomorrow during the day, where I'm going out with E to the boat where we were just talking about. There's all kinds of work that needs to be done out there on the dock. Oh my God, does he have big plans? Going to turn his little dock space into the party port of Lake Louisville. So we're going to go out there and we're going to do a whole bunch of that stuff. So unfortunately, being out at Lake Louisville early in the morning and then having to pick up my kid in the afternoon and bring him back for our big 4th of July week of fun, the show is going to be bumped tomorrow. So I do apologize for that. But here's the thing. Here's what I really want to do. I have been toying with the idea of just taking the noon show, and on days when I don't do the noon show, just do it like, I don't know, maybe I'll do it tomorrow at 9 o'clock at night. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow at 10 o'clock at night. Maybe I'll do, you know what? I think I might want to do something tomorrow anyway. So don't fret. Don't fear. We'll fear. Well, Jesus, what? Like you people give a shit. You don't give a shit. I'm just background noise. I understand that, but I do appreciate you. Tip the show if you can. End of the month, your tips are always appreciated. That's how I keep these shows going so that I don't have to go out and get. I live very meagerly, and you people have been a big help to me, so I appreciate that. Venmo, Cash App at the bottom. Be sure and check out Florida Stories. That's James. That's James's excellent podcast. That's a very, very interesting listen. I cannot say enough about it, other than I like to think maybe in some small way I inspired that greatness. But, you know, whatever. I mean, my old partner and I have been doing a Florida Stories bit since the mid-'90s, but hey, late 90s. Okay, I made it myself. But that's neither here nor there. All right, no show tomorrow. I'm sorry, no show tomorrow at the scheduled time, but I am going to try and do a show possibly later in the afternoon. Okay, bye, everybody. Love you. Tip the show if you can, as we like to say. Have a great, if I don't speak to you, we'll see you Monday, but we will be doing shows on Monday. Bye, folks. Understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.